Thanks, Fergus.
Okay, good morning everyone. Fergus here again from NALA. If you've just joined us in the last minute, Katrina Whelan's going to take you through Learn with NALA, and what she's going to do today is take 4 or 5 of the most commonly asked questions about Learn with NALA this year and discuss them. And because there are a small number of you, she'd be very keen for you to type in your questions in the questions box if there's anything that you were unclear with all year. Or you can also click on, there's a hand symbol beside your name. If you click on that, a red arrow will go up through the hand symbol beside your name, and Katrina can unmute you and you can ask questions. So over to you, Katrina, and all the best.
Okay, thanks very much, Fergus. Thanks for the introduction. So as Fergus mentioned, we're recording this today, and the idea is really to go back over some of the questions that are commonly coming through. So if you see on the slide there, it says the most common questions that have come up in 2020. So we launched the platform back in March. We've been adding courses to it over the year. We've been adding tests to it, so initial assessments and end tests, which are the summative assessments, and obviously as this is evolving, you know, a lot of questions are coming in, so I looked through the questions that were coming in and put them into, well, as I said, the top common questions that are coming through. So all of this will be recorded for you today, so that it's a resource for you to go to afterwards as well. So these are the most common questions. So it's around updating learner details, how does a learner get through a course, what to do when a learner fails assessments, how to support learners with portfolio work, and what are the next courses coming online and how to enroll learners into those new courses. So the first one that I'll go through is updating learner details. So there is a tutor guide which I've put into the handout section for this webinar. So you should see under handouts the guide there. I'll also provide a link to the tutor guide at the end of the webinar today, and I will send this to everyone who's registered for the webinar as well, so that you have the slides. And in that tutor guide on page 10, it'll show you what you have to do to update details. So this is a new feature that we've added in. It's called My Account on the courses homepage, where you review the profile. So I'll show you how to do that. So the first thing I'd suggest is make sure that you are logged out from any accounts on Learn with NALA. So if you've been working as a tutor or anything like that, I would even say maybe even close the browser completely. Okay, so I'll open a new tab, start, and we always try and use Google Chrome and then the latest version of Google Chrome. And if I go to courses.nala.ie and make sure here it says login, so that the browser is recognizing that you're not logged in anywhere, and then click on My Account. And then under this existing user, you're going to need the user's or the learner's username and password. So this is assuming that the user has already created an account. Okay, and now you need to update it. So maybe it's their email or phone number or something that you want to change. So if I click on login, and I have the details here of a learner account that I've already created and their password, and I'll click on login. And then review my profile. And in here, you'll see all the details that were entered for the learner when they were first creating their account. Okay, so as a tutor in a centre, you will be given an email when we set up your centre. And in the email, you'll be given a link to your account page that you can use for all the learners. And the initial information that you need to put in for the learner is the likes of an email, address, PPSN, gender, date of birth, and so on. Okay, so we could update this with, example, a mobile number. Okay, If you are in a centre that is not part of an ETB, there is a requirement from SOLAS that we capture learner details, which goes into a system called PLSS. Okay, so for independent learners or learners who are in, as I say, non-ETB centres, you'll be asked for additional information. This is the kind of information that ETBs are currently capturing through a form called the learner detail form. So this is a requirement across the whole of the PhET sector. So you can read through these, you can decide to give this information and then agree to it and save. And then those learners' details are updated. Okay, so from here you can either go to store, which means you go back into where all the courses are listed, or go to courses. And because the learner's details have gone in, then this is where the learner is logged in. Okay, so to update the details, as I say, make sure that the learner account is already set up. Okay, and there's a lot of videos on setting up learner accounts which are available in the tutor guide. They're also available on some of the older webinars that we've done over the year. And once the learner's account is created, then if you need to update it at any stage, you can log in as the learner, click on My Account, or instruct the learner on how to do that. Okay. The next question was about getting through a course, and it was, how does the learner get through a course? So to get through a course, a lot of centres and learners are using this for QQI certification. We offer certification at level 2 and level 3. We are starting to put up level 1 courses, but unfortunately at the moment you can't get QQI certification at level 1. Okay, so but for level 2 and 3 you can use the platform for full QQI certification, and we in NALA would do all the verification. So the portfolio work is on the platform. We would verify that, bring in an external authenticator who would also authenticate the work, and then we would submit the learner into QQI's database on your behalf. So really your job, I suppose, as a tutor is to guide the learner through the course and make sure that their portfolio work is okay. And I'll explain a little bit about that shortly. So for a learner to get their cert, they need to complete an end test and portfolio work. Now, you have to note that the end test, which is the summative assessment, will only appear upon successful completion of tasks, which are initial assessments, completing all the lessons, or a combination of both of these. Okay, and this is all in the tutor guide in page 6. Okay, so that tutor guide, which is in the handout section, in here on page 6, there's a graphic that I'll show you now. Okay, so the paths to getting through a course to get this end test to appear. So it's what we call conditionally released, based on either getting everything right in this first block called What Do I Already Know, getting everything wrong in that first block, but then doing all the lessons, or a combination of these two things. So if you get some things wrong in the tasks in this first block, then you have to do the corresponding lesson. And it's only when the end test is successfully done and then portfolio work, where it exists, is done, that then the learner gets to course completion. So to understand how a learner gets on, I'm going to go through some examples of what learners have done. So note that it says that the end test will only appear based on these conditions, and that the task in the initial assessment, if it's failed, the status will always stay as redo, but the learner can progress by doing the equivalent lesson. So to show you an example of that, if I log out here and log in with my test tutor account, So as a tutor on Learn with Nala, we will make the account for you. So you don't have to create the account for yourself. You don't have to enroll yourself into courses. We will automatically do that for you, and we'll direct you to learn.nala.ie with a username and password. If you want to change the password at any stage, and this is useful to note for your learners as well, if you've created an account for them, you can click on this forgot your password and then put in your username, and it will send a link to your email address that we've used to create the account. Okay, so then you can reset your password that way. So if I log in with my test tutor account, okay, so what I'm trying to follow is progress for learners. So for example, I could click on a course like career preparation and course admin and class progress. So at the moment, you can only view progress based on a course level. So you have to click into the course, okay? Then you'll see a list of all the learners that are enrolled in that course, and you get an overview of their status here. Now notice if I hover over this, the questions are changing, okay? So I'm seeing that things are pass, okay? And then if I want to get more detail on this learner, I can click into them. And I can go to grades. And under graded items, I should see questions, which are the summative assessment, and tasks, which are the initial assessment. Okay, so if I just go back here to content for a minute and just show you, you can view the content as a learner yourself. So you can go to the block What Do I Already Know, and you'll see tasks appearing here. So then based on release conditions, if these were passed, then an end test should appear. Okay, so notice that it's not there at the moment. So it's only until those conditions have been fulfilled that it'll appear. When we're setting up each centre as well, we give you a test learner account for a couple of months, so you can also try it out as a learner view. So these are the tasks, and we can see here, for example, in this course, career preparation, that there's 9 tasks that we need to do. This is what we call our recognition of prior learning, our RPL. So basically it means that if a learner was maybe almost level 4, and they wanted to get some certification. So if they had some prior knowledge and they got each of these tasks correct, then they wouldn't have to do any of these lessons. Okay, so they could skip over all of this. The end test would appear, and then they could do that and the portfolio work to get certification. So if we go back to see how our learners are getting on again, we can click on class progress. Click on a learner. Okay, and go to grades. And if I scroll down again, under other items, all the tasks will appear here. Okay, so I can scroll down through these. Now, notice here that all the tasks are pass, apart from this one, task 1. So this says go to lesson. So this means that when the learner was trying this task, they failed it. Okay. The problem with the tasks is you can't repeat the tasks. So if I log in as this learner afterwards, I won't be able to do the task again. And the status for this task will always stay as go to lesson. It will never change. Okay. So that will always be there. That won't affect the learner's overall grade. Okay. All it indicates is that they failed the task, so they need to go to lesson 1. So for this learner to progress through the course, they'd have to do lesson 1 for the end test to appear. So if I want to see if they've done that, I can go to content. And in here, I can see all the modules that we saw listed for the course. So what do I already know is that first block, the initial assessment with all the tasks. So I can see that they've completed that. And I can see here that they've completed lesson 1. Okay, they haven't done any of the other lessons, but I can see that they have done the end test. It's appeared for them, and the portfolio has also appeared for them. Okay, so it looks like that they have done everything correct in order to get at least that end test to appear, and they've done it. If I wanted to drill down a bit into the lesson, I could click on the arrow here underneath it, and it'll show me all the screens within the lesson and how long a learner has spent on it. Okay, so if a learner was spending time on it, this is a test account, so I've kind of flown through it, so you can see that it's only 6 seconds, 8 seconds. If I click on the screen itself, it'll bring me to it. And, you know, for a learner to go through this, there's a speaker symbol there that reads out all the text. They're probably going to be spending on average about a minute on it. So this way you'll be able to see, well, how long is somebody spending on it? Like there's activities that they have to do, you know, to do an activity like this where they need to read the text here and fill in the blank, you know, that could take a minute or two to do. So if somebody was flying through it, you'll be able to see that in terms of the seconds they've spent on it. But also, I'd say if somebody's spending more than 5 or 6 minutes on it, maybe it indicates that they're having a problem with that particular area. So that might be something to bear in mind when you're looking at the learner progress. Okay, so if I go back to just the course admin again, class progress, and that learner. Okay, so it looks like they have done everything to get the end test to appear. So I'll just look at the grades now for all their questions. And it looks like everything is pass. Okay. But yet their status is still unsuccessful. Okay, so I can see that there isn't a mention of any portfolio work in here. Maybe the portfolio work hasn't been done or hasn't been corrected. The other way that you can view progress, once you've got an idea of how the learner is getting on, is you can also go to course admin and grades. And then you can scroll down to that learner and scroll across for them. Okay, so there we see that go to lesson for task 1. And if I scroll across, I can see all the questions that appear in the end test, and it looks like everything is correct. And I can see now for the portfolio that it's not been done yet. Okay, so this learner, to be successful, would need to then do the portfolio work. It would have to be graded by us in NALA, and then they would automatically get a status of successful, and we would automatically forward them for a QQI award then. So they don't need to fill out another form like they used to have to do on Write On, which was our old platform. So we'd automatically do that. Okay, so I would say use a combination of looking at progress, and then as the learner is going on through the course, you know, if they're doing portfolio work, you can check the grades view as well. All of this is in the tutor guide, and it's on, there's a list from page 13 onwards with all the tasks and also the portfolio. So it'll tell you how many tasks to expect and how many questions. So level 2 is always quite straightforward. It's just if there's 4 learning outcomes, then there's 4 tasks and 4 questions in the end test. While level 3, we double it up because the stakes are getting higher. So if there's 9 learning outcomes, like in career preparation, then there's 9 tasks to do, but then there's 18 questions. Okay, and again, you can call us at any stage. If there's something that you're not sure about in the grades, just call us, and we'll be happy to go through that. Okay, so just to note again that the task, if a learner does fail it and they get redo or go to lesson, it'll always stay as that, and that's okay. Then they just need to go in and do the lesson, and you can check from the course admin class progress view if the learner has done the lesson. Okay, so this slide that I'll also send on afterwards sums up how you can look at the progress view, the grade view. If a learner fails a task, then we've said they have to do the equivalent lesson. And if they fail a question, they can repeat the question by clicking on retake the content. Okay, so for example, if we go back to our content here, okay, and if I go to home, so this is still me looking at it as a tutor. And if I go to maths, for example, again, go to course admin and class progress. Okay, this is a test account, so I can see multiple centres with it, but you won't have to do this. Okay, so now we get a slightly different picture here. So we can see that if I scroll across that there's tasks that are failed. And for this particular learner here, if I'm scrolling across, I can see that there's questions that they've failed. Okay, so I could click on this learner, for example, and go to grades. And I could see, for example, here they have to redo some portfolio work. They have to redo question 2.1 problem solving. Okay, they have to redo data 2.1, algebra. So there's quite a few they have to redo there. What I would do at this stage, recommend, because there seems to be quite a lot to redo or to check, I would also just check this learner from the grades view, just so that I can see it straight. So this is our learner. Okay, and if I could scroll across, okay, there's a task. So I'd want to make sure that they've done lesson 8 and lesson 18 and lesson 21 because they failed those. Okay, they probably have done those lessons because the end tests have appeared. So they've been able to do it. Okay, maths is a more complicated and is probably our most complicated course because we've divided up the end test into a number of end tests. So there's 5 actually in total, and this all maps back to the QQI descriptor. So at any time you can Google QQI level 3 maths, and you can get that course descriptor which maps to what we've put together. And in here you'll see that there are 5 sections. So there's number, and there's 5 parts to that. Measurement and capacity, there's 6 parts to that. Algebra has 3. So then you can expect that there would be 5 end tests. Previously on Write On, we only had 1, which was one big long test of 42 questions, and people used to complain that it was, it was like doing, I suppose, an exam in college nearly. You'd be sitting down for ages going through them all. So I would recommend for maths to try and do 1 end test at a time, pass that, and then move on to the next one and break it down that way. So that's just for your own information. You can always just Google those QQI descriptors, okay, and they map back to this. So if I go back to this again and scroll along, okay, so for example, measurement, I can see that the learner has a status of redo. Now, redo may mean that the learner hasn't done the test yet, okay, and it looks to me like this test hasn't appeared for them. So maybe it's because they didn't do lesson 18, lesson and lesson 21, okay, so that test may not have appeared for them. So we can check that out. And we'll also make a note of any other questions they need to redo. So for example, algebra 3.1, they need to redo that. Okay, so this is my learner, involved test learner. So I'll just log out of this and log in as involve test learner. So I'm logging in now as the learner myself. So I'm the tutor giving the learner instruction that, for example, they need to do algebra 3.1. For a learner, just to note, they can view their progress by clicking under their account name and progress. Okay, so this is one way they can get into it. In here, they can see all the courses that they have registered for and their status. So if I click on maths, and if I want to look at just content for a minute, just to see, did this learner actually do those lessons that they needed to do? So there was lesson 3, I think, and 18 and 21. Okay, so they haven't done the lessons there. They have done lesson 8. They have done lesson 18. And they have done lesson 21. Okay, so I can see then underneath for them that the end tests are listed here, which means that they've been released. So it's available to them. So they have done 1, 2, 3, 4, but they haven't done that one at all. Okay, and if I click into this as a learner, I can go into it this way from content. Okay, if you compare here, the number end test, everything has been ticked, which means that the page has been visited. Okay, but for measurement and capacity, remember we had a red status against those grades. Nothing has been done, which means they haven't been attempted. So for this learner to get through this course, they'd have to go and do all of the questions in this section and get everything right. Plus, they'd need to go back over that algebra question that they got wrong. So in this case, they got question 3.1 wrong. Okay, now this is very important. Note here that it says review content or retake content. If you click review, it means that you're redoing the question again, but your grade won't change. However, we want this learner to pass. Okay, so we would need to click on retake content. If you are using this platform just for practice, and some centres aren't using it for QQI certification, you may like to go through all the tests and let the learners do it several times and get them to choose review content. So that's something that you can do if you like. But if you want to use this for QQI certification, then obviously the learner has to pass, and then we need to click on retake content. Okay, so now as a learner, I would need to go and do these questions and get it right, which It's not going to be straightforward for me to get this right, I'm afraid. I'm going to make a guess here and see. I would have to work it out, and I'm quite embarrassed for that. I think that's going to be that. Oh yeah, so sorry. So there we can see that there's 5 and there's 1. Okay, I'm really just going to guess here, which is probably why I got it wrong the first time round. Okay, so I got 4 out of 6. Okay, so what I could do is go forward, go back again to that question because I know that I failed it, retake it again. Okay, and this time I'll try and get this one right. So that's going to be 4x equals 1. Okay, x equals 7. 7x. Okay, that's that one. That one. That's that one. Okay, so hopefully I got this right. It's 5 out of 5. Great. So now if I go back to content and go to my progress, so this is looking at it as a learner myself, and this is the same view that you would see as class progress. And if I go to grades, okay, so there's my item passed. Okay, so as a learner, we'd have to do those measurement and capacity questions, just make sure that everything else is passed. Note here that portfolio work has been corrected and it says redo. We have NALA tutors, we call them verifiers, that do that. Now they won't verify work unless all of these questions have been successfully passed first. So just to note that, okay? All of this is in the tutor guide. So from pages 18 to 21, all of that I've gone through is in there. And as I say, today will be recorded as well so that you have that. Okay. So if for whatever reason you have a learner, you've enrolled them into a course, and then they're not appearing in the progress view, you can just email me and I'll look into that for you. Okay. So that it may happen the odd time that the learner doesn't appear, but you can email me. Okay, so the other questions, and this sort of leads on from where we were, is so my learner has failed tasks and questions, how do they repeat? So the answer is for tasks, they can't repeat the task. It'll always stay as go to lesson, but they'll go and do the equivalent lesson. For questions, they can click into the question and then click on retake content. So the next one is, how do I support learners with portfolio work? Okay, so the first thing I would say is familiarize yourself with the portfolio needs. In a nutshell, at level 2, only writing and listening and speaking have portfolio work. So writing, the learner is asked to send in 5 sentences in their own handwriting and to post that in. Listening and speaking, they need to make a phone call to NALA and answer a few questions, which would include spelling their name or their address. They'd also have to have their PPSN ready for that. At level 3, most of the courses have portfolio work. There is a webinar that I recommend, and I've put the link in there. At any time, if you wanted to see any of our past webinars, if you go to nala.ie and scroll down to events. So all our past events are in here. And for example, older events where I would have introduced how to create or how to get started with Learn with NALA, you could click in there and then the recording is available of it. And it's the same thing for that portfolio work that I mentioned. So that was held on the 23rd of October. And I would really recommend that as a way to get familiar with what are the standards that we expect. Our NALA tutors, the verifiers, they will contact you if, for example, they think that maybe somebody was copying work or if the standard was quite low. So, for example, the portfolio work at level 3, learners would have to fill out a form. They should use proper spelling, grammar, punctuation, and so on. So if we were getting in a lot from a centre that didn't fulfill that, then the verifiers would be contacting you. Okay, and just to note that portfolio work should only be submitted after the end tests have been successfully completed. So we hope that with the guides and these videos that you can support your learner in getting to the end test and getting through the end test, and also then checking their portfolio work. What I would recommend, as I say, as the tutor, is to go to your tutor account. So if you log in, say it's my tutor, and then get familiar with what's needed. So for example, I could go to communications and content, and I'm seeing the course here as a learner. And I could go to the portfolio section and see what's expected of the learner. So they need to submit a file, then they need to make a phone call, and then they need to have an online chat, all of these with a tutor. So what would happen is that once the learner would submit a file, and it would look like this. So there's a file here that they need to download. You can just click on it, it will start to download. And then the learner would have to fill that out and save it and then upload it again. That uploading of it triggers the fact that we know that work has to be corrected. So we would then go and correct it and give some feedback. And if everything is okay, then we would arrange the phone call with the learner. So we'd ask them for their phone number so that we can call them, and ask them for times to contact, that we can contact them, or we can give them details and suggest that they contact us. So as I say, familiarize yourself with the portfolio work that's required. Note that we will always say to a learner, because this is what the learner will see when they, for example, download a file and they're filling it out, we ask them to check it with either a family friend or local tutor, so that would be yourselves. So we are expecting that the learners would come to you as well and that you check the work, because if everything is okay, then it makes the process a lot quicker. Otherwise, the learner has to resubmit several times, and that can slow down the process as well. So it's best to get it right first time if possible. If that's not possible, that's okay, because they can resubmit as many times as needed. Okay, so for example, that's the work that's required. Then would say, how do you know that feedback has been given to your learner? So you've supported the learner in uploading a file. So how do you know that feedback has come in? So we make sure that you log into your tutor account, click on a course, again, go to class progress. And this time we're looking for portfolio task grade. And again, all of this is in the tutor guide on page 15. So if I show you that, so we're in this particular course, communications. I'll go to course admin, class progress, and I have a learner there who we'll say I've supported them in doing their portfolio work. I can click on them and go to grades. And then in here, I should see if the portfolio work has been done. then there'll be a grade in it, which will either be pass or redo. And then if I click on feedback, I can see the feedback that's gone into the system to that learner. Okay, so if the learner needed to redo the work, there'll be good instruction given by our NALA tutors on what they need to do to improve so that they get a chance to do it again. So you can see this as a tutor. As a learner, if I log out here and show you what the learner sees, so the learner will see an orange dot up here every time there's a new notification coming in. And if I click on that, it will say in here that portfolio work has been updated, your grade. And if I click on that, okay, I can also see how I'm getting on overall on all the questions. And if I scroll down, I can see the feedback. Okay, so that's how the learner can know what feedback they get. They can see it that way, or they can also go to their progress view and see it the same way that you did as a tutor by going to grades and then feedback. Okay, so that's how they know. So again, you know, this is a new process for everybody. So we're using the system now to give feedback directly to the learner. And you know, to try and just, I suppose, get people used to the fact that feedback will be coming in, then to act on it, and for you to support them. And you can contact us if there's any queries about some of the feedback that's been coming in. Okay, so this information that I've just gone through is on page 15 of the tutor guide. And from the learner's perspective, there's a note on page 26 about that orange dot and how they can see the feedback. Okay, the other question, and this is the last one, and then I'm going to open it over to you, is what are the next courses coming online and how do I enroll a learner? Okay, so all the new courses will appear on courses.nala.ie and start now. So if you have a learner and a new course is coming out and you want to register them for that course, the first thing I'd recommend is to make sure you've logged out yourself, then go to courses.nala.ie and start now to register them. And then you'd need the learner's username and password. And again, this is in page 9 of the tutor guide. So I'll show you that. So I'm going to log out here of this. And I'm going to go to courses.nala.ie. And note here it says log in. So the browser recognizes that I'm not logged in anywhere. And I'm going to go to start now. And in here you can see the courses that are available. And we've just launched Reading Level 1 today. So I could register a learner for that. So I might say existing user. So this is where I would need the user's username and password and click on login. And then it brings me back to this courses again. And if I click on clicking here, and now general learning level 1. Okay, so that learner is registered for that course. If there were other courses that I wanted this learner to register for, I'll just open another tab again and go to courses.ie. And then I can register the learner for all of those. Okay, notice up here now it says log out. So the browser recognizes that this is the learner that's logged in, my test learner called Involve Test Learner. Okay, what we've also done, and to make your lives easier hopefully, is that we've launched courses as bundles. So if if I was to choose register now for this level 2 certificate, it means the learner's automatically enrolled into writing, reading, listening and speaking, pattern and relationship, using technology and personal decision making. And we've also just launched level 3. So if I was to click register now for this learner, they'd be automatically enrolled into communications, career preparation, maths, computer literacy, internet skills, and personal effectiveness. We hope to have these other ones, these other bundles launched this year. It may get pushed into January, to be honest. So, but it won't be any later than January. So for employability skills, there's more around personal and interpersonal skills. And for this ICT one, then that would include digital media in the bundle. So basically it would save you having to click down here 6 times for that learner. Okay. So that sort of brings me to the end. So just to note that we have these new bundles. Level 1 is coming out. If at any stage you want to know what courses are coming out, so we've launched computer literacy and internet skills recently. As tutors, you should automatically see those. If you don't, for whatever reason, just come back and email me and I'll change that for you. And there's also courses that you can do as a tutor. So if I just make sure that I log out here, and I'll just go back to courses again. Okay, so it says login here, so it's recognizing that I'm not enrolled. And if I go to tutor courses, you'll see the courses that are available now to you as tutors. So these are for free. So you would click on register now and then put in your tutor account, username and password, and you can sign up for that. And they're quite short courses. They take about an hour or so to do. These are the next ones that are out for release, and if the dates change for whatever reason, we'll change it on that page. So that's my demo complete. I'll have a look now and see if there's any questions, and if you want to ask any questions, feel free to put up your hand and I can give you the microphone and hand it over to you. Okay, so I'm just going to read out some of the questions that have come in. So there's one about having used Write-On and they're looking forward to working with us again. That's brilliant, and thank you for that. If you are a centre and you're interested in signing up for using this new platform, just click on Become a Centre and fill out this form, and that'll kick off the process whereby we send you out a memorandum of understanding form, and then we go on from there. Okay, so if you haven't received that form already, you can either email me or fill out this form and we will kick off that process for you. Another question that came in is, has the learner more than one chance to retake content? Yes, they can redo the lessons as often as they need. So that would be simply, if I log in here and go to, say, general learning level 2. So the learner could, in this case, well, they haven't done the what do I already know. Let me just pick a different course here for a sec. Using technology, maybe. Okay, they haven't done this either. But you can see here that it says completed 0 out of 15. If I was a learner and I had done all this already, it would have ticks down the side here, meaning that I visited the pages. But I can simply go back in here and go through it again. Okay, and as a tutor, with your tutor account, you'll be able to see all the lessons in the exact same way. So as I say, some centres are just going to use this to supplement what they're teaching, not for QQI certification. And maybe you're doing a piece about using ATMs. You know, if you get familiar with this content, you could dip in here, put this up, you know, on a smart board, and then maybe look at this as a group, for example, and do that activity together. So there's different ways, I suppose, that you can do it. But yes, you can redo the content, and they can redo the end tests as often as they need. So if there's any other questions, feel free to ask them now. Okay, there was one that came in about the level 3 maths and that it's been split into smaller tests and that somebody didn't get to finish it and didn't get to save their progress. Yeah, so we are acting on feedback that comes in. There is a Google form that we send out to you when you become a tutor, and we ask you to put your feedback in there. We'll also be launching a survey next week, so keep a lookout for that. It will appear under the announcements on the home page. So if I log out again and just log in with my tutor account. So there'll be one for learners and there'll be one for tutors. And on the home page, you might see announcements like this. Okay, so there'll be one about a survey. And yeah, we really appreciate your feedback because, we do get questions about, some of the content and maybe the layout and things like that. And we're trying to improve it all the time. It's not going to stay static. So, for example, one of the questions we got was about the buttons and the shape and size of them, that it was a bit hard for learners to make it out. So we've improved that now, and we're trying to make the boxes like this one a bit clearer as well. So it's an ongoing process. Yeah, if there's anything else that you want to ask, feel free to put up your hand, and I'll take a look and see if there's any questions coming up. And I also have some polls here, and I'd be interested in your thoughts on it. So I'm going to launch this first poll, and it asks, what kind of content would you like to see in Learn with Nala? So it's asking, would it be level 2 courses, level 3, level 1? And or would it be non-QQI? Okay, so I'll give you a few seconds to think about that. You can type it into the questions box if you like. Okay, and I can also hand you over the microphone if you like. Okay, so the feedback that came in on it was that some people would like level 1 and non-QQI. Yeah, I'd be very interested to hear what kind of non-QQI courses you'd be interested in. I can just put this over. I saw Anne, you had your hand up, so I'll just give you the microphone briefly, and if there's anything you want to add, feel free to do so. So you're welcome to talk now. Okay.
Hi, Katrina.
Oh, hi, Dan. How are you?
Hi, sorry, I was muted this end. Thanks so much. That was brilliant. Yeah, the non-media courses, I suppose, is a big push now on digital literacy. So yeah, I'm very interested in see what you'd be doing in that area. But all your courses are brilliant. Like, I couldn't select more than one answer in that case because I would probably have ticked all of them.
Okay.
I think they're very beneficial to our learners anyway, and I'm sure everyone else finds that as well.
Okay, great to hear. And have we set you up now as a centre yet? Or
yeah,
maybe...
I actually had registered, and I had got confirmation that we would be going online with yourselves. But I said before I gone any further that I would do the webinar with yourselves. So thanks very much. It was very informative. Brilliant.
Okay,
thanks.
Great to hear. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I suppose the last thing to say is if you have any questions at any stage, do feel free to contact us. I'll put my details up here. So I'm C. Whelan at nala.ie. If you want to get set up as a centre, you can either use that form or email us at MOU. And if you have any questions at any stage when you're using the platform, and your learners are free to ring us on the free phone number or to email us as well, they're welcome to do so. And finally, thank you for all your support over the year. We really appreciate it, and we hope that you and your learners are enjoying using the platform, and we hope you all have a very safe and happy Christmas. And thank you for your time today.